your old ass.
On the ground, now!
Hey, something's wrong.
Shut up.
The story kicks off with Yuki Mifune, a highly skilled assassin with deep connections to the Yakuza, watching a live news broadcast. The focus of the report is Bruno Diaz, a foreign diplomat visiting Washington, D.C. for a major trade deal between the U.S. and Costa Verde. Just as Diaz steps up to the podium to begin his speech, Mifune takes him out with a single shot to the head. Chaos erupts as the crowd panics, and in the midst of the mayhem, Mifune quietly slips away, mission accomplished. Meanwhile, Agent John Franklin is deep in conversation with the Secretary of State when Agent Juliet Clover interrupts with urgent news. They've identified a prime suspect in the assassination, Brandon Becket. Flight records show he traveled in and out of Costa Verde just before the attack. Without wasting time, Franklin orders Agent Sarah Peterson to send a team to Beckett's place immediately. Unaware of the storm heading his way, Becket is at home, fully immersed in a video game, enjoying his first vacation in 5 years. Then, out of nowhere, the sound of a helicopter fills the air, followed by a massive explosion at his front door. Before he can react, armed agents burst in and take him into custody. Elsewhere, Mifune receives word that Becket has been arrested right near his home. Her orders were to eliminate him and make it look like a suicide, but now that's no longer an option. The backup plan? Ambush the convoy transporting him to a detention center. At a CIA safe house, Franklin interrogates Becket, who adamantly denies any involvement in the killing. But Franklin isn't convinced. Evidence places Becket at the scene, DNA traces link him to the crime, and he has a potential motive. To make matters worse, Franklin suspects Beckett's father, Thomas Becket, might also be involved. Still, Becket refuses to admit to anything. Their conversation is interrupted by Homeland Security agent Zeke Rosenberg, who requests a private word with Becket. Rosenberg tells him that he'll only focus on hard facts and warns that if he's found guilty, he'll be sent to a classified black site. No trial, no appeal, just a one-way trip with dire consequences. Despite the pressure, Becket maintains his innocence. As Franklin re-enters the room, he gives the order to move Becket. Meanwhile, a Russian mobster, hired to stage an attack on the transport vehicle, negotiates payment over the phone. Once the deal is set, his team prepares to strike. Rosenberg pulls Clover aside, wanting to know more about the evidence against Becket. She confesses that she was the one who uncovered it, but Rosenberg hints that there's someone who doesn't buy the official story. She then shows him a video of the assassination, explaining how they traced the sniper's location, over a mile away. Only someone with Beckett's skill set could have pulled off such a shot. Rosenberg takes a closer look at the footage and notices something odd. Donald South, the CEO of Novosil Pharmaceuticals, standing in the crowd when he shouldn't be. Meanwhile, Becket is being transported under heavy security, but he can't shake the feeling that something is off. He warns the officers in the vehicle, but they brush off his concerns. Moments later, a truck blocks their path while another vehicle closes in from behind. The driver tries to escape, but the truck rams them. Before anyone can react, gunfire erupts from the pursuing car. The officers in the vehicle are hit and killed instantly. Amidst the chaos, Becket sees his chance. He snatches a key to his handcuffs and quickly frees himself. Armed with 2 handguns from the fallen officers, he takes cover and prepares for the inevitable showdown. He takes down one attacker and wounds another. Watching from a distance, Mifune observes the whole ordeal. Just as Becket jumps into a car to escape, she lines up her shot but misses. He speeds away, leaving Mifune no choice but to finish off the injured Russian before slipping away into the shadows. Over in California, Rosenberg tracks down Donald South, who is having dinner with a woman, definitely not his wife. Rosenberg casually interrupts their meal and takes the woman's seat after she leaves. Cutting straight to the point, he asks South why he was at the scene of the assassination. South claims he supports lifting the trade embargo and explains that his company is on the verge of being taken over by Ficus Industries. He suggests Rosenberg should follow the money. If anyone had a reason to stop the trade deal, it would be the people set to lose billions because of it. Back at headquarters, Peterson updates Franklin about the botched transport operation. She informs him that Becket was ambushed by Russian mercenaries, and one of their own agents was killed by a sniper. Franklin immediately suspects that Thomas Becket might be involved, trying to protect his son. He orders his team to track them both down. They quickly locate the vehicle Becket escaped in, but he's long gone. Becket, now a fugitive, runs into two police officers who attempt to arrest him. Knowing he can't afford to be taken in, he overpowers them and makes a quick getaway. He hijacks a car and demands the driver take him somewhere safe. Back in California, Rosenberg confides in Clover, sharing his suspicion that someone within their own ranks might be leaking intel. How else could the ambush on Becket's transport have been so perfectly timed? He knows Franklin is set on proving Becket's guilt, making it even harder to find out the truth. When he asks if there's any dirt on Ficus Industries, Clover tells him about a recent security incident. An accountant at Ficus, Josh Strayhorn, tried accessing a restricted area and triggered an alarm. The police arrived, but security refused to let them in. Rosenberg, sensing a lead, asks for Strayhorn's location and heads straight to Vancouver to track him down. Upon reaching Vancouver, Rosenberg is greeted by Drake Phoenix, the head of security at Ficus. Phoenix dismisses the incident as a simple misunderstanding, explaining that Strayhorn had too much to drink and stumbled into the wrong area, accidentally setting off the alarm. Meanwhile, Becket ditches his stolen car in a parking lot and sneaks into the back of a cargo truck to avoid detection. He eventually reunites with his father in a secluded location, explaining that he's been set up. Desperate to clear his name, he needs to figure out who's behind it all. As Rosenberg continues digging into Phoenix's background, he's shocked to find that there's absolutely no official record of him, almost like he doesn't exist at all. Franklin gets wind of Clover talking to Rosenberg about Ficus and stresses how crucial it is to locate Becket. Once Franklin steps out, Clover quickly passes along the name and hospital details of the only surviving Russian. Rosenberg heads to the hospital but gets blocked by a security guard. Flashing his badge gets him in. The doctor warns him that the Russian is fresh out of surgery, but Rosenberg insists on waking him up since he's a key suspect in an assassination. When the Russian comes to, Rosenberg pushes for answers about who hired him. The guy resists at first, but as soon as Rosenberg applies pressure to his fresh wound, he cracks. Turns out, the employer used a voice changer and faked background noises, making it sound like a helicopter was nearby. Meanwhile, Franklin's crew is combing through Becket's house, looking for clues. Peterson stumbles upon a birthday card from Becket's father that contains coordinates. Instead of waiting, they take off to track the location, leaving Rosenberg behind. As he scans through the house, Rosenberg spots an old picture of Becket with his military unit. He snaps a photo and sends it to Clover, who recognizes one of the men, Drake Phoenix, aka Clark McConnell. Officially, McConnell was supposed to be dead for 5 years, but that was clearly a lie. Rosenberg tracks down Strayhorn, who isn't exactly willing to talk. A gun to the head changes his mind. He admits that Phoenix had threatened his family, forcing him to play along. He spills that if the trade deal didn't go through, Novosil's stock would tank, giving them a financial edge. Plus, he got caught setting up an offshore account when the alarm went off. It was all under Phoenix's orders. Over in the wilderness, Becket and his father spot armed men closing in. Becket's dad hands him a rifle and directs him to a tunnel. As the enemy approaches, Franklin gets a call from Rosenberg, who swears he now has enough proof to clear Becket's name. Franklin reluctantly calls off the takedown. But before they can stand down, gunfire erupts, wiping out Franklin's men. Becket, who made it to safety, hears the shots and rushes back to his dad's cabin. His father arms himself, and they both scan the area, unaware that someone is watching them. Instead of taking a shot, their stalker sets off a distraction and slips away. Determined to catch their target alive, Becket and his father give chase. When they finally catch up, their pursuer turns out to be a woman, Mifune. They had assumed all along they were dealing with a man. A fight breaks out between Becket and Mifune. She's got serious combat skills, and Becket struggles to keep up. At one point, she has him pinned and goes for her gun to finish him off, but his father sneaks up behind her and aims his rifle. With no escape, she surrenders. Meanwhile, in Vancouver, Rosenberg digs into Phoenix's property and uncovers damning evidence, including tickets to a secluded island. He bribes a boat operator to take him there. While interrogating the wounded Russian earlier, the guy had mentioned background noise from a helicopter, which lines up with the island's helipad. Franklin gets a call from Becket, who confirms they've got Mifune in custody and she's ready to talk. Franklin warns him to stay put since backup is on the way. Clover, digging deeper into Mifune's background, starts connecting the dots between her and Diaz. Turns out, Mifune was in Costa Verde on the day of the hit, and the whole plan to frame an American for Diaz's death was meant to derail the trade deal. That way, Novasil stock would plummet, making Phoenix and his crew rich. With Mifune en route to a max security prison, Becket pitches an idea. Let Phoenix believe she succeeded in killing him. He figures that Phoenix set him up as payback for an old betrayal. Back in their military days, Becket had reported Phoenix to their commanding officer after catching him murdering an innocent woman during a mission. Mifune contacts Phoenix, claiming she's got Becket. Phoenix gives her a meeting spot. Meanwhile, Franklin lays out the plan, and Beckett's father steps up to be the sniper. Over on the island, Rosenberg sneaks into a house and stumbles upon a family portrait featuring none other than Donald South, which catches him off guard. Before he can react, Phoenix ambushes him. A struggle ensues, but Rosenberg ends up tied to a chair. South, finally spilling his motives, admits that he's being pushed out of his own company after the merger, and Phoenix was the mastermind behind framing Becket. Mifune delivers Becket to Phoenix, but the rest of the team is hidden, ready to strike if needed. Before handing him over, Mifune confesses that she had been originally hired to kill Phoenix's brother, but an accident led to his nephew's death instead. Once inside, Phoenix wastes no time and shoots Mifune, double-crossing her. Becket fights back, but Phoenix overpowers him and takes him hostage, demanding a chopper and $10 million or he'll execute Becket. Beckett's father, waiting for a clear shot, hesitates, haunted by a past mistake. But as the tension rises, Becket reassures him, trusting his skill. That's all his dad needs. One perfect shot later, Phoenix is dead. Meanwhile, South tries to make a break for it, but Mifune, barely alive, stops him cold. The movie wraps up with Becket and his father finally reuniting. His dad admits that was one of the toughest shots of his life. They share a long overdue hug and decide to celebrate with a couple of ice-cold beers.